On the broadcast tonight, fall riding on. You'll likely hear the rumble of motorcycles throughout the weekend. Also, bottle plant capped. The project will go back to the town of Minocqua's board after running into some water issues. We'll explain and find out just how important a fire department can be for your insurance rates. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch 12.
Your local news and weather from where you live. Newswatch 12 at 10 starts now.
Good evening. The approaching fall means motorcycles this time of year in Tomahawk. Thousands of bikers rolled into town for the weekend festivities. Now, the Northern Lights Hog chapter of the Northwoods Harley-Davidson dealership held a parade tonight, and they want to share that cool experience with some people who might not be able to do that. They offer rides to people living with disabilities.
We've been riding with the blind or the disabled for probably, I would say, 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
And so it's been off and on different people, but Dawn calls me every year and wants to come ride with me, so she's my special rider.
Well, the number of people who actually turn out for the ride depends on the weather, but it seems like riders are always coming back.
Dawn Derleth is her name, and she is a wonderful young lady that's she's special all the way around, and she just loves to ride. She doesn't see real well, and so she trusts me explicitly to take good care of her on this ride.
The fall ride runs for the weekend and should be a good time.
Rain has overspread the region. In fact, rain across the entire state of Wisconsin. That'll continue for at least the next couple of hours. Weather watchers for today, well, not a whole lot of rain just yet. Again, rain here across north central Wisconsin. Weather watchers for today only topping out at a couple hundredths of an inch of rain, maybe a couple tenths of an inch of rain. Caddy Bill, Soma Lake, 2/10 of an inch of rainfall, just a trace of rain for Allen out in Park Falls. High of 69 today for Farmer John up in Phelps. Linda and Pearson up to 72. Other weather watchers across northern Wisconsin. Stan and Stainer up to 67 degrees. Scott and Arborvitae up to 67. Louis Minocqua at 68. Wally out at Armstrong Creek, 71 degrees. 68 for high for Bill in St. Germain. Central Wisconsin, a little bit of rainfall, 1/1500ths of an inch of rain for Dorothy down in Mosinee. High of 75 today. 76 for Roger down in Adams, and 73 for the Krems down in Stevens Point. Rain continues for tonight, but it looks like this weekend we may just luck out. Stay tuned to your latest forecast up next after the break. Adam.
A Rothschild woman will need to pay $100,000 just to get out of jail. She's staying there waiting to deal with cocaine charges against her. 37-year-old Shannon Zepeda is also accused of having pot. Prosecutors believe she had more than $40,000 worth of drugs in a motel room with the intent to sell it. Police tracked her down during a traffic stop and then eventually searched her motel room. Zepeda's arrest came just a few days after a huge marijuana bust in the area as well. She's expected in court sometime next week. A Northwoods woman will go to jail for 9 months. It's for stealing from a business she worked at. 48-year-old Brenda Wigglesworth was sentenced today for a felony for stealing from the Northwoods Animal Hospital in Minocqua. Well, she worked at that hospital for 14 years. She pled no contest to the felony in June, but in court today, she said she wasn't guilty.
I pled no contest because I cannot 100% disprove the full amount of the charges. The accountant I'm working with has found some discrepancies so far, but we have not received most of the records for the years in question.
Wigglesworth will also spend 5 years on probation. She'll get work release in jail to continue to make restitution payments as well. Wigglesworth paid $15,000 in restitution today. She could still pay more, though, in the future. The town of Minocqua will reevaluate a water bottling project. Minocqua approved that project, which would have trucked water from a spot near Presque Isle to Minocqua for bottling. However, that ran into some issues. The Great Lakes Compact bans Great Lakes water from being diverted or piped out of the basin, except for a few limited exceptions. Now, the original springs for this project sits in the Lake Superior Basin. However, they were just miles south. That water would ultimately find its way to the Mississippi River Basin. Project leaders originally wanted to truck water from the springs near Carlin Lake and Presque Isle. However, local homeowners and the DNR said that would likely break the compact because it would be trucking the water out of the basin. And if entrepreneurs wanted to pursue it, they might face a legal fight.
That was our original intent until the Great Lakes Compact. As we read more and more about what the Great Lakes Compact entailed, it was our decision to drop that process.
The group of investors, which includes the owner of Triggs, will now look for a water source elsewhere. However, town leaders who had approved the original project weren't really comfortable moving forward without knowing where the new source would actually be located.
I think now that we know that the remote well is not in play anymore, we have a whole different level of concern, and I think it changes everything.
For that reason, the United County Planning and Development Committee decided to send this proposal back to the town of Minocqua for some more discussion. Conventional ways of fighting drug and alcohol abuse often don't fit well among Wisconsin's tribal communities. 4 Wisconsin Native communities will use a $4 million federal grant in part to emphasize traditional and tribal methods to battle those problems. The Lac du Flambeau, La Coudray, Bad River, and Menominee communities will benefit from the grant, which the Grand Lakes Intertribal Council helped win. Well, the grant program will look at tribal drug and alcohol problems in a little bit of a different light.
This is one of the struggles we have had working with federal grants, that they put out what they want people to do based on the general public and what they know works for them.
Well, prevention and education will include traditional Native customs like sweat lodges, talking circles, and medicine wheels. Some of those strategies have been already successful.
In order to have a culturally appropriate approach, you need to integrate those things that have made in the past Native communities healthy.
Organizers have some pretty ambitious goals in the 5-year grant period. They want to reduce underage drinking, binge drinking, and prescription drug abuse by 10%. They also want to increase the perception of harm from those substances by 10% as well. Well, work days last 16 hours for firefighters fighting fires out west, and a group from the Northwoods just returned from firefighting in Washington. Here's some pictures from the wildland fires they had to fight. Some of the firefighters were students from Blackwell Job Corps out in Forest County. Forest workers say work consisted of burn operations and burnout operations, hose lays, and building protection. Now, more than 300 personnel managed by the Schwaming and Nicolet National Forest have been sent to help fight fires out of the state. A few people in the Merrill area will get to learn what it's like to work as a firefighter. Well, that group is taking Merrill Fire Department's Citizens Fire Academy. Last night, the class learned how better equipment could mean lower insurance rates for the community. Newswatch 12's Caitlin Howe's taken the course, and she has the story.
The Merrill Fire Department relies on lots of equipment to do its job. Every piece has a specific purpose.
This is like a flapper, so this is for like working the edge of a wildland fire, and you just take and slap it out.
And all of the equipment has a place.
And each compartment has its own special, unique purpose.
That high level of organization helps keep the community safe.
We build them alike, so no matter what vehicle we jump in, we're not trying to think, oh, what vehicle did I get in?
Recently, the Merrill Fire Department got one of the best ratings in the country for its ability to keep the community safe. The rating is based on the department's capabilities, communication, and water supply.
In our rural area, we could use this as a pumper truck with 3,000 gallons of water right behind it. So we'd have just a massive water source compared to the 1,000 gallons that's on engine 2. This tank itself holds 3,000 gallons of water. So all that water that's in this truck, we can set up this tank, we can drop that water into here.
Water that could protect the community. We're covering the news in Merrill. Caitlin Howe, Newswatch 12.
It looks like we'll feel a little bit cooler this weekend compared to the last 7 days. The Chief Meteorologist Matt Benz, though, will get us all the details next in this full weather forecast. Stick with us.